What is up, MFers? Welcome back to another exciting video. Not exciting because of the weather. It's I don't think it's been over zero for like the last 72 hours. It is insanely cold outside. So I did some ice fishing the other day with my buddy Ethan. Went out, caught a bunch of bluegill, crappie, had a really good time on the ice, and I got a lot of really good feedback from that video. You guys liked that one. Obviously, you like the ice fishing videos, which is great because we're gonna have plenty of those coming in the future. But I had a lot of questions on that, asking why did you set it up this way? Why were you using that bait? Why did you try those locations? And what do I need to get started with ice fishing? I know when I got started ice fishing, probably about 10 years ago, I had to get information from all different sources. I didn't know how thick the ice had to be, how big the baits needed to be, if I needed a live bait, what I needed for an auger, if I had to have a gas auger, if I needed a HUD, a heater, what it would possibly take, and really what the financial commitment would be, and the pluses and minuses of everything. You know, do I need a $700 HUD? Can I get by with a $100 HUD? And so I felt that was an excellent opportunity for today's video and a couple of videos with this series moving forward, which is a beginner's guide and what you need for ice fishing, how to ice fish, how to catch fish with electronics, without electronics, with all the expensive stuff, without it, and really give you guys an idea of what you need to get started with ice fishing, what I use personally, and then in a couple days, we're gonna take all this equipment and these tips out onto the ice to a local pond. I'm gonna show you how you can catch fish using these tips and these baits, this equipment, the very first time you get started. Hopefully cut the learning curve for you guys. You know, and I think this can benefit other people that have been out ice fishing or a little bit more experienced as well. I definitely don't know everything about ice fishing. I never will, and I never will tell you that I do, but I've definitely learned some secrets and learned from some tough lessons out on the water that hopefully I can share with you guys. Now, really quick, before we start today's video, I know I told you guys I would announce the winner of that $360 rod on January 1st, and I apologize, I didn't get a video out yesterday. I was extremely busy all weekend with family stuff, and I really hope you guys had an excellent holiday season as well. Mine went really about as perfect as you could possibly have it go, so I was super stoked for that. But the winner of the $360 rod giveaway is Eric Turner. Eric Turner, your name is right down below. I've actually got in touch with Eric yesterday, and so he knows that he will be getting that rod. So I really appreciate everyone that took the time to go purchase something from millikenfishing.com. Like this shirt right here, you can go out there, pick one up, it supports the channel. I use it to help bring you guys more of these videos. And moving forward, I like to do some big giveaways like this one that I did this last month with that really sick, almost $400 rod, as well as some trips to come fish with me, potentially do some ice fishing. So without further ado, let's get into today's video. All right, let's do this. You guys are probably wondering why there's a cord hanging. Well, I got a heater right above me because it's about 25 degrees in my garage. Yay, Nebraska! Whew, there we go. I had to move the camera and everything a little bit closer so you guys can see my pretty face a little bit better. All right, so the first thing we're gonna talk about ice fishing is the most important thing about ice fishing that I had so many questions about, and I was really sketched out about, I still am a little bit sketched out about, is safety. Please do not watch this video and go walk out on an inch of ice or on some unsafe ice and go drown. That would suck. So the general rule of thumb is the clearer that ice is, the stronger it is. That means that it formed really evenly, likely when it was super cold outside and there was no wind, no snow, anything. Clear ice can hold a lot more weight. So I have personally been out, once again, I don't recommend doing it. I have personally been out on 1 to 2 inches of super clean ice, and I weigh about 230 pounds, so I'm a little bit bigger, dude. So it is possible. Now, I would not recommend getting out on the ice until it was at least 4 inches thick. A lot of people might say that's overkill. Go watch Peric's video. He was out on 1.5 inches of ice, but personally, 4 inches for me. You know, if it's 1 or 2 inches right now, there's a good chance it's gonna be cold, and it's been cold outside. A couple more cold nights, that ice will be 4 inches thick. Wait, be safe, take your time. I don't like to chance anything, and another big thing with being safe is going out with somebody else. Obviously, you don't want to stand super close to them if the ice is thin, but going out with someone else in case you go through, you can call 911, whatever. Now, if the ice isn't perfectly clear, if there's some white in it, that means it's going to be a lot less strong, especially if there's been snow over the top of it, which will insulate down below, insulate that water. It'll keep that ice from going as quick as it should. Or if there's current or springs in that area, you can go from a foot thick ice to 1 inch thick ice super, super quick. So know the body of water you're fishing, know if there's springs. Generally you can see these weaker ice spots, but not all the time. So you gotta be extremely, extremely careful getting out on the ice. So as far as safety goes, I like 3 pieces of equipment that I think you should have and every ice fisherman should have when it comes to safety. First thing I like to have right here. It's kind of an entangled mess right now, so I'm not gonna take it out, a rope. At least like a 25, 30 to 50 foot long rope. If someone goes in, you can throw them the rope. Obviously, you don't want to get close on the ice to whoever your friend just went through the ice. The second thing I recommend, these guys right here, ice picks, floating ice picks. You can put them over your neck, you can put them in your pocket, whatever, easily accessible. These ones float, you can get them about anywhere, get them on line. These will help you stab into that ice, pull yourself up out if you should go through. If you listen to my tips about the ice thickness, you will not go through. But just in case, right here, these guys. So the third piece of equipment I like to have for safety on the ice is something that's overlooked by myself a lot of times, and I've paid the price dearly for not having them, and that is some form of ice cleats for your boots. Ice is obviously really slick, especially when there's no snow on the top of it, when you're pulling something, when there's wind. It's really, really good to have some spikes. Go get the cheapest ones possible. Like these are like $3 ones. Go get super cheap ones. They work fine. They're not gonna be quite as comfortable to walk on, but trust me, they'll be worth it. This can save you from getting a concussion, knocked out, going through the ice, whatever. Pick up some cleats. All right, so once you're out there, you're safe, you're on that safe ice, obviously you're gonna need to cut a hole. So you're gonna need an auger for that. You do not need to go out unless you are really weak, or old, or you just don't have any arm strength. You don't need to go out and spend $400 on a power auger. I have never personally had a power auger. I've hand augered it my entire life. So what do you need in a good auger? Well, this is the one that I got right here. I think it's an Eskimo auger, pretty sure it's 6 inches. A 6-inch ice hole is plenty for 99% of fish, unless you catch like a 20-pound catfish or bigger. You're not gonna have any problems with that ever. So I recommend a 6-inch hole. 4 inches can be a little bit tight if you're fishing for bass and pike and stuff like that. And 8 inches can be a lot harder to drill than a 6-inch. Obviously, you wanna make sure those blades are super sharp. Now, if you sharpen them, one thing that I learned a long time ago, I took these blades off and I ran them right through one of those V-shaped knife sharpeners, thinking, oh, I'll get them super, super sharp. They're starting to get a little bit dull. The angle of this cutting down into that is super, super critical. So when that made that point go both directions on this blade, it just spun on top of that ice because it wasn't getting that first deep bite. So if you're gonna sharpen these, I recommend using a grinding wheel and always make sure that point is staying going down towards the ice. Now, the thing that sucks about hand augers is this happens. This thing up here likes to break a lot, and you are gonna go through quite a few blades, usually 1 or 2 pairs a season, depending on how many times you get out. And the blades can be almost as expensive as the auger. I think this auger is only like 40 bucks, and it's a great start for you. So if you're looking for an auger, Eskimo, I think this is Eskimo auger, go check out one of these, a 6-inch auger. Next thing you're gonna need, and this is not an option, you gotta have this, is a little ice chip scoop. You're gonna cut through your hole, there's gonna be a lot of stuff floating in there, or if you're fishing outside without a hut, you're gonna have a lot of little ice chips in there, or a lot of it is gonna be freezing up constantly. So an ice scooper, only a couple dollars, go pick one up. So we got our holes cut, we're out there on our safe ice, we scooped our chips out. Let's talk about different types of rods, reels, line, bait, lures, everything you could possibly need, and we're gonna simplify this big time. So I have 3 different ice fishing rods. Really, you could get away with 2 or even 1, no problem at all. And the great thing is, they're usually really, really cheap. So as a beginner ice fishing rod, I would strongly recommend going out, getting like a 24-inch ultralight rod, and that really can take care of about anything you could possibly be doing. So to get a little bit more specific, I treat my ice fishing a lot like I treat my finesse fishing in open water. If it has a single straight hook, I like to use a fire line or a braid or something like that. And the smaller the bait is, the lighter the rod you want to use. It's not that difficult, but a 24-inch ultralight rod will be perfect. So this one I like to use for little tiny teardrops. I put fire line on there. I think this is only like 10-pound or 6-pound fire line or something. And I really like a 4-pound leader of fluorocarbon. 4-pound fluorocarbon is about the best all-around line. It's small enough that you can catch panfish on it. They're not going to be too finicky a lot of the time, but it's heavy enough if you do get a 4 or 5-pound bass or a big pike, walleye, whatever, you're gonna be able to play them with that drag set nice and loose and be able to get them up to the hole. Now, another rod that I like to have out on the ice, like I said, you can get away with one rod, you can do just about everything with the one I just showed you, but if you can afford it and you wanna go out and spend some more money and have a little bit more of a technique-specific rod and reel combination, I really like a more parabolic tapered rod, a little bit longer, 26 to 28-inch rod, and not an ultra rod. We'll go with a light action rod, and we're gonna spool this guy up with 4 or 6-pound fluorocarbon or monofilament. I really like fluorocarbon though. This is gonna be for treble hook baits. Bigger treble hook baits like this guy right here are gonna catch you a lot more bass, walleye, pike, so you're gonna want a little bit more power, but it's nice and parabolic. Just like a crankbait rod, this is gonna be the guy I use for anything with treble hooks. So we've talked about rod, reel, bait combinations and what we like to use for different types of baits. Let's talk about those baits. All right, this is my bait box. A lot of you guys saw it the other day. I keep it simple. Like I said, I have one box of baits for ice fishing, and really there's 4 different types of baits and rigs that you need for ice fishing. This is all you're gonna need. Bait number 1 we're gonna talk about is my all-time favorite, Mr. Versatility. I can catch 3-inch bluegill or 5-pound bass on. I've caught everything in between, all different species of fish. This little guy right here, if I can get a hold of one. The teardrop. You guys can see that really well, right? No, you can't. So that is a teardrop. It is freaking tiny. Now, to get more specific with these, I really like ones that hang at a 45-degree angle or completely vertical. All you need to do with this guy is just gonna drop it down. You're gonna tip it with some live bait or a plastic. We'll get into that in just a second. And that is it. Let the colors be up to your imagination. You know, the great thing about ice fishing, unless you're fishing in heavy brush piles and stuff, you're not gonna lose that many. So go out and get 5 or 6. Make sure they're small, size 8 or size 10. I really like for this, and that's about it. You know, I like something that looks like a bluegill color a lot of times. I like pink and purple a lot, and I like a white glow color a lot. That's it. You don't need every single different color, every single different size. That is it, and it will catch fish. The second type of bait we're gonna talk about is the spoon. So the spoons are really cool, and I like to pull them out whenever I'm fishing for bigger fish like walleye, bass, big crappie, stuff like that, or whenever the water's really stained, you need something with a little bit more visibility. This dude's got a rattle in it. Again, I like to keep it nice and simple. I got a couple of these like this, so they're a little bit bigger. They're about 3/4 of an inch to an inch long. And I also really like this. I got one rigged up on my other rod. These, I don't know who makes them. I think they're like Dave Ginn's ones potentially. Back of it's flashy, front of it's painted. I think they might glow. Those work really well, and they're nice in between size. They're not a huge bait. So bait number 3 that I really like and you need in your box if you're gonna go ice fishing is a Jigging Rap type bait. This right here I think is a Jigging Shad Rap type bait. These are awesome for bass, pike, walleye. Really all you do, you let them go down on the bottom, you rip it up off the bottom 6 inches to 2 feet or so, let it fall back down, change up your cadence a little bit. Not complicated. Once again, you're gonna want something that looks like a live whatever they're eating. So I really like, I'm not gonna unsnag these, but I like this like perch type color. I like a chrome type color. Orange can be good sometimes. Anything that looks like the forage in the lake. Don't go crazy with this. Go pick up a couple. Learn what you like about them. Chubby darters are really good. Jigging Raps have caught fish forever. That's it. You don't need to go crazy there. And the very last type of bait rigging system that you need, number 4, is hooks and weights. Split shot weights and little tiny hooks to fish a minnow on, or if you want to fish a waxworm. But I like to tip those little teardrops with waxworm. So really we're just talking about hooks and split shots. Those will be good for anything. You're gonna dead stick, leave a minnow down there right by the bottom, or if you're gonna fish with tip ups, which we will get into in just a second. Now, as far as using a live bait, I really only use 2 different types of live bait, and I pretty much use them exclusively unless I'm using that Jigging Rap style bait. The first thing I like to use is wax worms. Wax worms are super cheap. They stay alive for a long time. I just get the big pack at the beginning of the season. It lasts me the whole year usually, but those are awesome. I tip those on those little teardrops, or I tip the spoons with them. That's it, not complicated. Put a whole one on a little teardrop, drop it down there. That's my #1 all-time ice fishing producer. And when I get to the video, when we talk about the second part actually out on the ice, I'll show you how effective that can be. Bait number 2 that I use, a minnow. Either a big chub type minnow or a small type minnow. I'll use that chub when I'm using tip-ups, which we'll talk about in just a second. But a minnow on a little hook dead stick by the bottom, or a minnow head on a spoon on the back of a big type of teardrop or something like that, but just on a spoon generally. A minnow head can be super, super deadly, especially if you're getting snubbed by those fish on a wax worm for whatever reason. Minnow heads can be good. So that's it, guys. That's all you need to go catch fish. You don't even need all those things. Honestly, if you went out and got a teardrop and some wax worms, 1 fishing rod, an auger, and a scoop, that could be all you potentially need to get out and get started with ice fishing. As you can tell, I like to keep things simple. I don't like to overcomplicate ice fishing or fishing in general when possible. And I've caught thousands of fish on those bait combinations. So if you just got a very limited budget, and we'll do some budget ice fishing videos moving forward here, that's all you'll need. Now, if you want to be a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more advanced on the water, let's talk about a few upgrades. Upgrade number 1 we're going to talk about is a hut. I have a 2-person Clam 2000 flip-up hut. It's got a floor in it. You open it up, you fold up the bars, and you got a hut. That's all it is. So there's that type with the floor in it. There's the sled type flip over ones, and then there's the ones that are kind of like a camping tent. You open them up, you spread them out. They have no floor in them, but they're generally a little bit bigger, and they don't have the sled to haul around either. Benefits of them. I really like my 2-person hut. General rule of thumb, the smaller the hut, the easier it's going to be to keep warm. We're going to talk about heaters in just a second. With my 2-person hut, it's awesome because you can get that heater turned on and within a couple minutes you are toasty, especially because it has a floor in it. Now with a flip over type shanty, those are great because generally they have chairs built into them, which it's another thing. You're going to need something to sit on, whether that be a bucket or a chair. Obviously, buckets suck to sit on, but they do work, especially since you can carry your gear out there in your bucket. So a flip over one is nice. Generally, they're still 2-person. There are some 3-person ones, but they're going to be a little bit more pricey. It's nice because you have a sled to haul stuff out on the lake in, but it's not nice because it's got no floor in the front of it. So you're going to get a little bit more cold air coming in there. It's going to take a little bit longer, and it's going to be a little bit harder to heat that thing up. Third type is the wide open tent style. Now this is great when you have multiple anglers. You can drill holes wherever you want because there's no floor. You can generally stand up in them because they're taller and they're bigger. And as far as packing goes, they usually pack down into a little tent style carry bag, which is wonderful. That's great. Those are all the benefits. The downsides of those, so once again, no floor. They're going to be bigger, so it's going to take a lot more to heat that thing up. And you're not sitting on anything. You're not sitting on a bench that's connected to it. You're not sitting on the floor of it. And so it's going to be a lot more apt to blow away if there's any type of wind. So you're going to have tie downs, which do come with it, but it's going to take a little bit longer to get it set up. All right, so speaking of staying warm with the hut, which is a huge advantage, let's talk about heaters. This right here is my heater. It's a Mr. Heater Little Buddy. Awesome for my little 2-person shack. Plenty of heat to keep that thing warm. Like I said, if you're gonna have a bigger shack, you're gonna need a lot bigger heater to keep that thing warm. This guy generally goes through like 1 to 2 of these in probably 4 or 5 hours. These little 1-pound propane tanks, so it's totally worth it. Huge part of me staying comfortable and having fun on the water, on the ice, is staying warm. So, love my hut, love my heater. Must-haves for me, but totally not necessary to get you started. Next thing we're going to talk about is, to me, the most important thing that helps me catch more fish than anything else in the water. And when I'm out in my boat fishing, I don't think this is necessary or paramount at all, but when I'm ice fishing, I 100% stand by that's extremely important, and that is electronics. I don't like to be a person that advocates needing to go out and spend $300 or $400 or $500 to go out and be able to catch fish. You don't have to have it to catch fish ice fishing, but I swear to you, I can outfish the person sitting next to me 2 feet away, 10 fish to 1 with my electronics if they don't have any. So they are very, very important. So let's talk about a couple different types. First type we're gonna talk about is one that I'm very familiar with because I obviously have one, and that is these vertical pixel graphs. So basically, this one's called the Aquaview Showdown. The thing Markham bottom, it's the Markham Showdown now, and it made it way more expensive. So this is like a $350 unit. If you don't got that kind of money, don't worry about spending it, but this thing helps me a ton. Basically, you got lines that are gonna make up the bottom of the lake. You can see your jig go down, that can be a line. You can watch it fall the way down, and then you're gonna see lines which are gonna be fish. So the more faint the line, the further away it is. The darker the line, the closer it is or bigger it is. And you can see how those fish react. You can drop your bait down to right where those fish are at, and then you can kind of jig it. Like I was telling you in that video, and we'll talk about more when we get out on the ice. Once I see a fish start to be interested or commit to my bait, I'll lift it up a little bit higher and we'll see how he reacts. If that doesn't work, I like to drop it down by him real quick, bring it back up to his level, stuff like that. We'll talk more when we get out of the water, but this guy helps me catch, and has helped me catch, thousands of fish. Now the other style of fish finder you can use while ice fishing is a flasher. Basically, it does the exact same thing except in a circle type screen, and it's gonna have different colors based on if it's fish, how close it is. It's something that you can learn to use, and there's a lot of videos. I'm not gonna try to explain all of it to you right now, but a flasher. You can buy those from all different ranges. I would recommend, if you're gonna get started, to go out and get the cheapest type of flasher if you want a fish finder, which usually is around $100, $150. Now, another awesome thing is these guys right here. The Deeper Smart Sonar has a flasher mode, so it works just like a flasher. I know a lot of you guys went out and picked this up already since for my videos, and I really, really like this product. I just started using it, so I haven't had a good chance to get out on the water and use it a bunch, but I watched Flair use his last year. This guy has a sick flasher on it, and like you've seen in my videos, you can use it in open water as well. Now, I can't overemphasize the importance in catching more fish of having a flasher like this one, or like a Vexilar or something else, to get out and catch more fish through the ice. Being able to see how those fish react, or even if there's a fish down there looking, will help you know when you need to stay, when you need to move, when you need to change up your presentations, and that's absolutely key, especially if you don't want to spend a ton of time drilling different holes when there's fish down there looking at it the whole time you had no idea because you didn't have one of these guys. So I will link this guy right down below if you want to check out any of the Deeper products. Awesome for open water, just as good for ice fishing. One more thing we're going to talk about on this video today, guys, is something that was kind of a total mystery to me, but something that's totally sick, really fun, and can be a really effective way to go catch a bunch of giant fish, and that is tip-ups. Tip-ups are totally sick because you basically drill a hole a little ways away. You can set up a bunch of these depending on your local laws. You got this flag that has this little contraption. You'll see how it works, and then a spool of line. You set it, and then when you got a bite, the flag pops up, and you get to hand line them in. Hand lining some big fish is super, super sick. You'll hopefully we'll get on some. We'll be able to do that this winter. But I keep these super simple as well. I put 14-pound trilene big game on these because the monofilament does a lot better for ice fishing, and obviously if I'm spooling up the entire thing, I want it to be able to not be so stiff and really coily like fluorocarbon likes to get. So I use 14-pound big game. I use like drop shot weights or little bullet weights or split shot weights and a hook basically. And so what I like to put on this guy is some type of a minnow or sucker or something like that. Now you do have to be a little bit careful, and you can adjust the tension on these if you have a big sucker or big minnow. Obviously, those are going to be able to set this guy off by pulling on that a little bit harder. Now, just in general, tip-ups come in two different types. They come in the type like this, which is a really good all-around. This one's nice and cheap. I think it's only about $10, so it's a good way to get out, get a couple of these, and try them out for the first time. Or there's round ones. Round ones are nice because they oftentimes keep your hole from freezing over quite as quick. So if I had this guy out, like the other day with Ethan, it was 0 degrees outside, chances are this guy's going to be completely frozen, locked up in that ice, which oftentimes means you can't get this thing back, or it's just not going to set up, it's not going to trigger, or take off or work like it's supposed to. That's a nice thing about a round tip up, is they're gonna keep that hole open a little bit easier. Problem is, those are more expensive. So if you wanna spend a little bit more money, the round ones are a little bit nicer. These ones are great for about 10 bucks. Well, that's all I got for you guys today. I know oftentimes these tip videos aren't that exciting for a lot of people because they already knew the stuff I talked about, but I felt it was a good time with ice fishing season now in full swing to talk about some of the things I'll be doing out on the ice to help alleviate some questions and help you guys get out and do something besides sitting inside being sad all winter. Get out and do some ice fishing, man. It's super, super fun. I enjoy it. I love to fish open water a ton, but ice fishing is something great to do in the winter. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have any questions, please comment down below. Really appreciate if you hit that thumbs up and go subscribe to Milliken Fishing also. That would be awesome. But I'm getting out doing some ice fishing the next couple days and doing some lure painting tutorials. I believe I have a lure painting tutorial video coming tomorrow. So now that you know how to go catch some fish through the ice, let's talk about how you can custom paint some sick crankbaits this winter as something to do if you don't want to get out on the ice. But thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. I am out of here. Peace.
I'm not sorry. I can't help this love like mine. I'm not sorry. I can't stop with a love like mine.